So we're going for a nice 50% water change. This is a brand new ladder. This tank is currently looking kind of green. It's undergoing treatment. Yeah, it's my own fault. I should have been more clear. What I actually meant was, so I've got some awesome plants here. And this is why I'm so pleased with my substrate system I developed. And now I've got 4. It's like infinite money glitch. What's going on, beautiful people? We are in the studio. I've got lots going on. I've also had a package arrive, which is plants for stuff we're going to be building in the future. I just did some maintenance on that nano tank. I just did a massive trim up on the pearl weed on here, so it's all a bit murky, but yeah, that was all the way to the surface before. Ooh, like nice little, not little, a massive Ammonia at the front. Been molted, which is good. It means they're growing nicely. There's quite a few in there, actually. Didn't realize there was that many, but yeah, that's trimmed back. It's a little bit yellow now, but it will bounce back. I've just done some scraping on the end of the tank, removed a ton of floating plants in the green neon black water, so I've scared them all off. They're at the back, but they do come out, honestly, they come out a lot. Also removed some floating plants from the dwarf Danio stream, a couple of little extra plants that I plonked in there. They're growing, they could be used in another setup as well. Gave the front glass of our little Better Fish tank here a clean, and I'm currently just setting up another tank next to it. But we've got those new plants, they can all go in this tank. And once again, Aquaflow have come through with us for plants. But as usual, of course, I can't remember what I've ordered. Basically, I order like a week and a half in advance, and then when it turns up, I've completely forgotten. It's always a nice surprise though. Oh yeah, so I've got some awesome plants here. So we've got 3 lotus bulbs, like tiger lotus. It's the red variety, so they look great. I've got something called like stringy moss, because I want to try it in some shrimp tanks. Halanthian tenellum, Monte Carlo, Rotala Wallichi. All of those versions do really well for me when they're planted from their easy grow pots. So this is basically like little, it's like laboratory grown in little like nutrients, and it just works so much better for me than the potted ones for those particular plants. Everything else though is brilliant from a pot. It just looks great straight away. They will change slightly underwater, but we've got Hygrophila pinnatifida. I haven't had this for a long time, looking so good. Look how good these plants look, by the way. They're all from Aquaflow. It's the only people I get my plants from. It's not sponsored or anything, I'm just letting you know. They did listen to me though, look. I told them to change the labelling because it didn't even have their logo. This was their old labelling. It's like, well, I was like, where's the company name? How am I supposed to tell everyone how great you are? So yeah, they've changed it now. And I guess that's sort of older stock just going through. Aquaflow, so good. I love them. I love giving you guys like good companies. That's why I use Superfish and that as well. But yeah, we've got some great Java ferns, more bulbitis. I've got some Hygrophilas over here, which is like a much taller variety as well. I've got some extra Ludwigias as well, because I want to put them in the tank behind that we're going to be sorting out today. I don't know if you've noticed in the background, but there's quite a lot of algae on the glass. This pearl weed needs to come out because it's taking over way too much. But yeah, I'll get all these plants tidied away over in their little storage tank, and then we can get started on that bad boy. There we go, all stocked up in there. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, why don't you just submerge them in water so they're already converting? Well, if I had to look after like 6 more plant tanks, because I've got a lot more, yeah, I've got all these ones down here as well. And if they're all full of water, that's even more maintenance that, you know, I just don't need to do. So I leave them with just a little bit of water in the bottom. That soaks through the rock wool. They've got enough light. They keep growing, so you get extra as well. And then when it's ready to plant, I can just plant them. All right, they're not converted, but it doesn't take long before they start looking great again underwater. Now, I have just had to do an emergency water change on the red tank here because I didn't give clear enough instructions to Kate when she was feeding. I told them I've upped the feeding now for the fish. There's more of them. They can take a lot more. But I think she read that as just put more of a handful in. Now, I'm telling you guys so you don't necessarily do it as well, but yeah, it's my own fault. I should have been more clear. What I actually meant was, so when we're feeding them, what I like to do, look, is just put some in the water like that and then watch them all go. Like literally watch them go, because I think Kate was taking a big handful, laying them in, and then a ton of it this morning was all layered on the bottom here that hadn't been eaten. So now I just do it like that. I watch them eat what's dripping down, and then they're waiting for more, and then a little bit more of a sprinkle. And then I just keep doing that until I can sort of see they're not ravenous and going for it. But at the moment they're going for it, they haven't touched any of the old stuff. I've siphoned most of it out. There's still a little bit, but the bottom feeders will get that. So yeah, if you're gonna feed heavy, then you still need to make sure that the fish are eating everything you put in. Otherwise it's gonna sit on the bottom, create ammonia. And that could have killed a couple of fish, which doesn't sound too bad in terms of like wiping out a tank, but 2 fish cause more ammonia, and it's like a chain reaction. Obviously, that's going to take probably over like a day, but it can happen. It can just like bang, 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 come in, all the fish are dead from ammonia poisoning. So yeah, I need to have a word with her about that. I didn't explain it, so you know, you've got to take responsibility. She's not to know. I just said we're feeding more to the cichlids now and piled them in, but yeah, we're not doing it like that. But yeah, anyway, all good. Disaster averted. Look at that, see, they're all coming up, they're all charging at it. Barely anything's going down to the bottom, and anything that does, the bottom feeders will get it anyway. And again, this plant needs a trim up. I'm going to be taking some of these plants in a minute because they are South American and using them in the 8-foot. Quick update on the puffers. So this tank is currently looking kind of green. It's undergoing treatment, but I've ordered another treatment as well because we're pretty sure this one here has got some sort of worm infestation. Look at how sunken its stomach is. Now it's quite likely that'll pass on to the rest. And I've put like a general treatment and ick treatment in because they had a slight bit of white spot. It's pretty much clearing up now already, to be honest, just from moving them into this aquarium versus the system they're on in the shop. But I need to get something that's not a general cure. I need specific deworming treatment. So that's coming today. I'll get that in. Hopefully this little skinny man, where's he gone? Ah, he's down there, there he is. Hopefully this skinny man can bounce back because he's still eating well. But the fact that he's eating but not putting on weight suggests there's definitely some kind of internal parasite. And not only will I treat this tank, but I will also treat the Amazon puffers as well, just to be sure, because like a couple of them don't look quite as thick as the other ones. Like this one here has always tend to got a slightly sunken belly. I mean, they've not been fed this morning yet, but I want them all nice, rounded and balloon-like. So I'm going to treat both tanks and hopefully that just knocks anything on the head. But anyway, today is about the Amazonia tank, which I'm moderately happy with. I'm not as happy as I thought I would be, but we're going to change that now. We're going to get it there. We're going to get it where I want and need it. So what's bothering me? Well, it's not the algae on the glass. Who cares about that? That comes off instantly. I've literally not touched this since I put the fish in. That was deliberate. I just wanted to see how it went, let it go through its initial phases. I mean, we've got some crazy growth, don't get me wrong. Look at this bad boy coming over here. Obviously, this plant needs trimming and replanting at each point. It wants to grow close to the surface in and out of other plants, but obviously it's just reaching. The pearlweed here, which I didn't even plant, is doing my head in. Have to get that up or it will just take over. It's kind of spoiling the look of the tank, this great big non-native-y bush thing in the foreground. The rocks need to come off of all the wood now as well. They should be absolutely fine. I think the first thing I need to do though is get that glass scraped and top the tank up as well because it's looking a bit rough. Oh, and you'll be pleased to know, look, this is a brand new ladder, which is very sturdy. Not as high as the other one, but you know, I didn't even need the last step anyway. There we go. So even though there is a ton of crud floating in the water, it actually looks better already. I should definitely do a water change though, shouldn't I? Because it's a lot of algae just floating and there's also like a scumminess to the surface as well. I don't want to do a water change because it's a pain, but I think I should. It'll be the first proper water change that this tank's had as well. Also, not to forget the fact, of course, it's going to be far easier for me to get right into the tank and down and remove things and plant new plants and that if the water's down lower. So we're going for a nice 50% water change. I've got out all of that pearlweed from the front there. There's another couple of bits dotted about. We're looking good though. I mean, I've just noticed we've got hairgrass all creeping into the foreground there. There's another set of runners at the back as well. So the plants are growing, which is good, but I do want to give the whole tank a bit of a boost. It needs some faster growing plants to help combat that algae, get it settling in a lot faster. And that's where some of these plants are going to come into play. Too big for this tank now, I'm going to trim them right back. Going to pinch some of the Ludwigias as well to add some pops of red to the other tank. Again, they're not too fast growing, so it's not going to be something that's going to overtake the tank. This one will though, but I'll keep it all together and it's just a simple snip. So because these stems are like big and floaty and getting the flow, I've attached some ceramic rings, some extra weights onto this one because it's very big, and then a ceramic ring on that one. I can sink it right into the substrate, and then that will lock it all down. The Ludwigias are absolutely fine. I can just put them straight in the substrate. And the area right back here is where I want to put the stems. So there's a bit more of a background. See, this is the only issue of an 8-foot tank. Doing everything is difficult because you've got to get right down in there. Right, there's one in. I want the other one just next to it. Oh, just jogged the wood a bit, but it's all right. Right, that should look amazing when we fill it up. Because there was just a little bit of a gap in that section. Now, reds, where do we want the reds? So I want them to be really standing out. So we've got some colour over this side, and I think if we put some just in this sort of section here, that'll look awesome. I've got a nice deep amount of substrate here, so that should anchor them down really well. Oh yeah, that's gonna look great. Then there's another little gap right next to it as well. Yes. Right, awesome. Let's fill her up. And whilst the tank is filling, I just want to draw your attention to a very special handsome man's tank down here. So I recently did a nice big clear out on Chunks' tank and the electric blue cars. Look at the colours on the electric blues at the moment. So they are definitely getting ready to spawn again. Look, they're being very defensive over this area. Even Chunks, he's such a gentle giant. He's like, no, it's okay, I won't get involved. I'll go to my spot. This is my little spot over here. Anyway, when I was tidying this whole thing up, I kept seeing little things wiggling around. I couldn't quite make out what they were because Chunks was chasing them. And when he eventually stopped, I did see what they were. And I've placed them in this aquarium here. Look. So you see, right there and right at the back. No, not the back. So right here you can see there's a baby lemon tetra in the foreground. The other ones are babies from a different tank. But look, there's 2 lemon tetras there, baby ones. There's about 6 in total though. Some of them are down the bottom there. There's one just hanging about. So yeah, in the tank with Chunks, we've got like 3 adult lemon tetras. I was half tempted to take the 3 of them out and put them in their own tank just to keep them breeding because I know they can now. But whilst the tank was completely sort of overrun with plants and there was so much mold at the bottom, which to be honest is probably what allowed the babies to survive, once I cleared that out, they were all out in the open, all over in the corners. Now I'm pretty sure that Chunks did manage to catch a few of them. I just saw him going absolutely crazy all along the front here, and he never behaves like that, so I knew something was going on. And it turns out you were chasing those babies, weren't you? It's okay, you can't really blame him, can you? But yeah, I managed to save about 5 or 6, put them in the other tank, let them grow out. So yeah, that is really cool. Lemon tetras now have bred in here, and the electric blue acaras have as well. How are their babies getting on? Here's one of them. Oh, there's another one just coming forward from the back. There is 3 total. Oh yeah, there we go. There's always this tiny, tiny diddy one. And then there's this one here, getting kind of big. They're not big, but you know, like so exciting watching them grow. I'm deliberately leaving all this mold and everything in the tank. It just seems to be really beneficial. It just provides like constant food sources for grazing and that. And they're growing at a good rate. I can't put them in the other tank yet, obviously, because yeah, they would be gobbled for sure. Now, over at the self-sustaining tank, I've had to make an adjustment because it got a little bit murky again. Not the sort of amount that most people will be bothered with, but it was bothering me. So I've added the filter back in that I had in there before to clear it up. Now, the reason I didn't just put a filter in the first place, because I didn't want to have like the maintenance of it, but the filter that's in there has got like coarse charcoal, not charcoal, what am I trying to say? What's the word? What is the word? Why can't I remember the word? What's the word? Activated carbon. That's the stuff. So it's a bag of like activated carbon, which means it's not going to be like getting clogged up like a sponge that has to be cleaned out regularly. So I'm happy just to probably just leave that in, and it's like no maintenance still. I've still not done anything to the tank, still staying topped up, although actually all that's nearly down. I do need to top up the reservoir. So this one is like, whoa, what's that been? A month and a half, something like that. Whenever the water gets low in this tank, the little sensor over here tells the pump down to pump water back up in, and it keeps it nice and level, almost nice and level. Close enough though, yeah? But yeah, we've had fantastic growth. Look at the stems over this side. They're all covering the surface now. They definitely need a trimming and replanting and actually get it looking back fresh again. Now, I never like to overcomplicate this part of the process, so I just go in and start hacking, to be honest. There we go, all of that come up. I'll let it float out the way for the minute so I can see the rest of it. Some more in the background. And this is why I'm so pleased with my substrate system I developed, and I like showing you, and why I use it so often. You know, the sand that's capped over the top of a lot of other nutrients. We use the NutriBase, we put the pond soil down and then cap it all with the sand, and just look at how like decent this plant is. There is absolutely zero CO2 in there. And even the Wallichii now has got the top areas, it's got nice like pinky redness to the top of the leaves. That'll only get more and more vibrant. Let's just get all these plugged back in. I'm gonna keep them separate still, so grab the Wallichii first. There's 1, 2, that's a bit too tall, so I can snap it at one point and then put it back together. And now I've effectively got 3 shoots. Snap it again if I want, keep them really short. And now I've got 4. It's like infinite money glitch. So I've got 4 together, come down, stick it in the sand. Simple as that. There we go, that's everything I just trimmed and saw floating on the surface, all back in the same spot. Way more dense in that area now. As it grows again, it's gonna be like one thick bush in that area and it should look fantastic. I've murked the water a little bit there just by planting quite aggressively. But now we've got the activated carbon in that filter at the back there. It should clear up pretty quickly. But back to the tank, it's full and I think it is now looking fantastic, so much better than when I first did it. Sometimes these things take time. When I first set up the 8-foot before, I put so many stem plants in that within 2 weeks it was already sort of full. Well, that's completely different on this occasion. You know, Echinodorus takes a lot longer to grow, but once it gets going, it can look amazing. And I'm really pleased with that. There was sort of like a bland area there where that Mariophyllum is now, and that just filled out that spot really nicely. I'm so much pleased with how it's looking. I can see now where it's going and how much better it's going to look. There we go. There's a full tank shot, and I'll overlay now what it looked like after we first set it up. And you can just see then the difference between a month and a half, is it now? Something like that. And hopefully that'll then show you how it's going to be within another month. Now, I have to admit, a couple of days ago, I was a little bit gutted because Kate come in and she looked at it and said, oh, it's so dirty, it doesn't look good. It's nowhere near as good as your previous one. And I was like, oh, I know she's right. You know, she's right at that moment, but I can see that it's going to be insane. Completely different looking to the other one. But I personally think by the time we've got the bigger fish in and everything like that, it's going to come into its own even more. It's going to be much easier to keep looking really good as well because we've got those much bigger leafed plants. Apart from some of the Ludwigias we've just planted and that Mariophyllum, but that's just an easy snip anyway, as I showed you on the red tank. So yeah, let's just be a little bit more patient with it. Come on, I mean, look at how much that's changed in, I just checked actually, I just overlaid it, 42 days it was. That's changed massively. The CO2 is still running on it as well, but I've never had it that high. I thought I turned it up high. It's not really high. I've got it on like 2 bubbles per second for this massive tank. Isn't actually a high concentration. And if I put one of those little bubble, CO2 level things, it's like a upside down bubble. You put the fluid in it and it goes different colors. I don't reckon this would be the right level, but I don't want to go crazy with it. It's working really well with the level I've set it at. And so, you know, that's good for me. Oh, got a nice bristle nose on the back there, which is not the one that I thought we had in here. That's a different one. Remember, we've got the honeycomb in here. That's a black one. How has he got in there? I guess they were both still in here. Anyway, not a problem. I didn't want to put a load of bristlenose in here because of the amount of swords we've got, and they can chew on them. Like, they're so soft-leaved and they're flat and they just like to like go all the way up. But because there's so many in here, I can't see any that have been damaged by any bristlenose. So we'll just keep those 2 in there. I'm not going to take them out, not that it would even be possible. No way could I do that. But everything is just going so well in all the aquariums at the moment. And it's funny, because you stare at the tank like every day, you kind of forget like what's happening and how fast it's growing, because when I look back at that shot, you could barely see any of these plants all in the back there, the Echinodorus, and now they're like massive and they're coming to the surface. They're going to get much taller as well. Can't wait. So I think that's a really good update of this tank and, you know, some of the other tanks as well. This one is going to be getting bigger fish soon. I just want to give it a little bit more time. The next video will be adding all of the angels, all of the keyhole cichlids. We've got flaggercar as well. We've got more cories to add in. It's going to be pretty good. So make sure you subbed and everything for that one. See you on the next one.